Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's eShowcase, a new standard for environmental data validation. Today's eShowcase is sponsored by Aquatic Informatics. And without further ado, I will hand the presentation over to today's presenters.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Kurt Farrell. Thanks for joining us today for a new standard for water data QA/QC. What that really means is we as Aquatic Informatics, as a software company, provide digital solutions to help environmental specialists collect, validate, and publish their environmental data. And so what we're showcasing today is our software, which our software specialty has always been the QA/QC of environmental data. But what we're really excited to showcase today is a new tool called HydroCorrect, which helps extend the capabilities of our QA/QC tools to include some automation and semi-automation using intelligent data collection and just looking at historical data and leveraging that to our advantage. So really excited to be here. Again, I'm Kurt Farrell. I'm an account executive with Aquatic Informatics. What that means is it's my job to help new potential customers think about and evaluate and consider our software, and then decide whether or not our software is the right fit for them. So happy to be here, and I'm joined by Tom, who will be walking through the software in just a minute. Tom, would you like to say hello, introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Tom Urenka, Solutions Engineer at Aquatic Informatics. What that means is I'm a product specialist in the Aquarius product line. My background is many decades of enterprise software development, so I also get involved in technical and integration issues with new and potential clients. So pleasure to meet you all, and I hope you find the session interesting and worthwhile.
Awesome, Tom. Thank you. To introduce Aquatic Informatics, our company, just really briefly here, Aquatic Informatics, I'll let you read the slide there for our purpose, but essentially what that means to us is, we fully understand that our customers are water managers. And we really pride ourselves in the fact that we help provide solutions to water managers and water data managers who are ultimately responsible for managing our planet's most precious resource. So we really pride ourselves in the fact that we help our customers accomplish that objective. And that's really my interpretation, our interpretation of what that purpose is there. Really happy to be here. Thanks for coming in. What we're going to be looking at is Aquarius on the top left there. That is our solution for analytic software for the natural environment, for collecting environmental data, again, helping manage the life cycle to getting to the final product with that data. But delivering on that promise, that objective I mentioned a minute ago, we don't just provide that one single solution. We actually provide a couple of different solutions to a variety of applications across the water life cycle. So not just do we provide Aquarius, we also provide Seteru, which is our solution for asset and work order management to help our customers manage the distribution and collection systems of municipal utilities. You'll also notice the logo Hawk is up on the screen there with Rio and WIMS. Hawk is our partnered company because we and Hawk and Hydromet, Trojan Technologies, Paul Water, we are all part of the Danaher Water Quality Platform, soon to be known as Veralto. And essentially what that means is we're partnered with other leaders in this industry. And although Rio and WIMS were developed by Hawk, our role, Aquatic Informatics, is to be the digital solution specialists within that group of companies and within our parent company. So we really pride ourselves in that fact, and we're very happy to represent Rio and WIMS to help, again, with water management in the municipal space as well. So talking a little bit about the agenda today and what we're going to cover. We kind of already, started our introductions, so maybe I'll reword that and say that we're going to continue our introductions to Aquatic Informatics in the Aquarius system. We're going to walk through the software itself and showcase Aquarius and HydroCorrect and the QA/QC process associated with those tools. At the end, we'll summarize. And questions are listed at the end because we'll be addressing questions at the end, but that does not mean you're limited to the end to ask questions. So please chat your questions in throughout, and we'll address some of those at the end, as many of them as we can as time allows. We're going to start off by introducing or kind of laying the land here with a statistic that came from a 2021 Black and Veatch survey that said that half of utilities are data rich, but are not leveraging it effectively. And this was quite a profound statistic to us as a company because it means kind of two things. It means first, it means that our utilities and our customers are putting the time and effort into collecting data. And it means that half of it is not being leveraged effectively. So half of that time, money, and effort spent on collecting data doesn't result in results and products with that data. So it means that we're not maximizing the efficiency and the effectiveness of half of our efforts, right? And then the other half of that is it means that we don't really know what we don't know. You know, there's half of our data that's not being leveraged to reveal insights and reveal important decision-making criteria. So it just means that we're potentially missing some really important, relevant information. And you know, these types of statistics, this one in particular, really drives us as a company to help our customers be better in this space and drive efficiency to the optimal level. That same report also revealed that 95% of respondents have a growing confidence in their sensor data too. Really just what that means to us is that we're getting better at collecting data and we're getting more accurate with that data. What we need to do is take the next step and leverage that data more effectively and utilize it to get more insights and decision-making criteria. So next we have a poll question, and that question is, how does your organization currently manage environmental data? The options here are listed on the screen, and I'm sure that there are some of you who may not perfectly fit one of these options. So if that's the case, just choose the option that most closely resembles your situation. But the options are spreadsheets, custom coded software, hydrologic software, so meaning purpose-built software such as Aquarius or a similar solution, or no data management system at all. That's perfectly fine if that's the case. We appreciate your engagement and appreciate you answering these questions here. So thanks again and in advance for your participation. I think we're going to share these results as soon as they come in. Yeah. I think the poll's going to stay open for about another 30 to 40 seconds here. So again, your participation is appreciated. Looks like, okay, we can see some results here. Yep. Looks like we've got plenty of respondents using spreadsheets, plenty using custom coded software. We've got several using hydrologic software, so glad to hear that we've got some respondents using purpose-built software. Great. Thanks for your participation, everyone. Okay, great. I think in the interest of time, we are going to proceed. But thanks again for your participation, everyone. Looks like the majority of us are using spreadsheets or custom coded software. Really glad to hear that. Really glad to hear that you are using some digital solutions to make the effort and to manage your programs effectively. Glad to hear that that's the case, and if that's great for you, great. If not, hopefully you can see some tools today that may help you extend that vision and become even more digital and more driven using technology solutions. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and proceed for the sake of time, but really appreciate the participation. Really helps us understand the audience, really helps us understand the market and the industry. So very happy to get those results there. But moving along, we do as a company provide solutions for the natural environment. Solutions meaning Aquarius, and Aquarius is actually kind of a suite of solutions that it consists of several different tools and modules. Ultimately, what our customers are doing with that, or I guess what our customers are doing in general, is they are collecting data from either source water, groundwater, drinking water, stormwater. This is not an exhaustive list of environmental sources. It's simply kind of a representation of what the majority of our customers are doing. And what our customers are doing, one way, shape, or form, is they are collecting that data from the environment. They are one way, shape, or form consolidating that data, making calculations with that data, making visualizations with that data, but primarily validating that data and conducting QA/QC using that data. And then finally, one way, shape, or form, our customers are usually sharing that data with either other decision makers and other stakeholders at their own organization, to regulating authorities or potentially just to the public for public awareness and public relationships. And what our software does is it really replicates that process in a digital environment and eliminates as much of that busy task work as possible and really expedites the process from 1 all the way to 3 and really helps our customers not spend a lot of busy task work and free themselves up to do other things by expediting and removing the busy task work associated with getting the data from the environment to that final product at the end there. And, I mentioned that Aquarius has always been a specialized product for helping our customers expedite that process, of that QA/QC process. But what we're introducing today is a tool called HydroCorrect. HydroCorrect is essentially a way to automate or semi-automate that QA/QC process by looking at your data previously and understanding what your historical actions are on that data, and then making recommendations moving forward to extend that capability and remove even more of that busy task work by doing it for you. It's easy to configure and use. It's a centralized management tool. And I really just wanted to point out that defensible reporting is the most important part of that. Our customers are using this to produce legally defensible reports and legally defensible data that is published to the public, published to their regulating authorities. Again, just publishing it to those who need to see that data and see the final product of that data, of getting that raw data to that final product. I am going to turn it over to Tom in just 1 minute here, but before I do, I just want to read off this statistic that we actually found as a company in our own private study by speaking to customers, potential customers, speaking to the market. And we just ask that you keep this statistic in mind as we walk through the software. The statistic being that we found 1 week every 2 months is about how much time the average QA/QC professional is allocating to QA/QC. And so we just ask that you think about that and think about how true is that for you? Are you spending more, less, substantially more or less time on QA/QC? And just think about that and think about, whether or not Aquarius is a potential solution for helping expedite and minimize that 1 week every 2 months. And with that, I think, Tom, if you're ready and able to take over, let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at how this looks in the software here.
Okay, I am ready to go here. Let's see if we can make the system work. Very good. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Okay, I'm going to give you a very fast run through the Aquarius time series environmental monitoring system and data management system, as well as the HydroCorrect module that Kurt was referring to. We're going to start with the time series. A lot of great functionality in time series. This is the main time series landing page. On your left is the list of monitored sites. Here, lots of different ways of looking up sites, searching for sites, etc. But let's take a quick look at one of these sites. Look at some location details. Everything is browser-based. There is nothing to install, nothing to do at all. If you have a major browser, you can use this software. When you're setting up a site, you just provide some basic information like the site type. This you can configure, and then you can get additional data specific to a site type to show up for a site location. So this is all configurable by yourselves. You can put in a location folder, which lets you take advantage of a very complete permissioning system that lets you control who has access to the site and how, as an administrator, viewer, or something else. You can get some basic GIS data, elevation, time offset, tags. You can attach documents, pretty well unlimited documents you can attach of data, images, video, you name it. You can put that in. You can add in reference datums so that you can use data elevation conversions if you're doing groundwater or something else that requires you to take data locally and then perhaps convert it to an absolute standard. All these kind of calculations also have effective dates onto them, so you can things can have dates so that as your environment changes, the calculations change, but the previous calculations remain the same. So that's just a very quick look at how we do locations. but really the main action is in the time series. So here are the time series associated with this particular site. You can create a time series for any kind of parameter that you're monitoring. It could be environmental data like water level data, hydrology data, quality data, you name it. You can make your own parameters easily. If the parameter that you're interested in isn't available, in the system administration section, you can very easily create a new parameter and off you go. And the time series data is stored in a powerful relational database so that it's safe and secure and easy to retrieve. But the important thing is the time series has got powerful QA/QC capabilities to let you handle that data. So let's take a look at that. So here is a view of the time series data. On the bottom, you have a timeline bar that you can move around. You can shrink it easily. You can move around, find things. The little rubber boots represent field visits. It's on the timeline when you've gone and visited a site. That's the field visits, and the data from the field visits show up here, these dots. The two sections of the screen work very well together. So you can zoom in on things here. The timeline will shrink. You can zoom in on specific data points. You can look at specific data points as a grid. So there's a lot of useful information that you can do. You've got all kinds of additional metadata that you can use to create inside the system. We have here, for example, an approval cycle. If you choose to do an approvals, it means you can lock data. When it's approved, it cannot be edited. You can have defined data grades. In this case, we see the data grade is poor because we obviously have some problems here. You can do qualifiers for the data, i.e. these are easily things that you might see often, so that you can just put a qualifier in just to say what it is. In this case, equipment malfunction. Notes obviously are notes, and location notes for the whole location, and notes for the time series only itself. Editing is a very straightforward process. We have a very powerful graphical editor. You can just select your data as long as the data range is not approved, and then a whole bunch of different values, different editing tools show up. You can pick the one that you want, that you think is the most appropriate for your set. In this case, we're going to try something, a moving average filter, where the system adds its own line. We can then take the line, make some adjustments with it, because if we're not super exactly happy with what the machine has done, we can very easily do some tweaks, and we can apply that, and we have our corrected data. The raw data is never deleted. It's always available. And we can do multiple things as well, because I can, for example, change the grade on this right away. Once I've edited it and I've got a new grade, estimated with good confidence, I can apply that, and I have a full edit history of my changes available right here or on a report, so that you can keep track of who's done what and what's going on with it. So that's just a very brief taste of the manual data capabilities of the time series system. And a little bit later, we're going to go and look at some of the automated time series capabilities on the system. But time series does more than just QA/QC. It has data transformation and computational abilities. One of the most interesting and well used of these is rating curve development. We have been in the rating curve development business for a very long time, since the very inception of the company 20 years ago. And so we have a lot of knowledge on how to build rating curves. And the Aquarius Time Series includes a very powerful browser-based rating development tool for those of you who are into hydrology. It incorporates the measurements that you take in the field to let you create rating curves. Those rating curves have effective dates, rating periods, so that the rating curve can keep up with the changes in your water course channel over time. It can deal with shifts, breakpoints, as you see, calibration, data grades. It can also take a rating curve just from a CSV file. If you already have a ready-made rating curve, you can just import it from a CSV file or enter in the formula. And it's also not limited to just stage discharge relationships. It is capable of drawing relationships between two dependent variables. For example, it can be used to create a stage versus reservoir area or stage versus reservoir capacity curve, for example, in other ways. So it's a very powerful and useful tool for those people who have hydrology. It can do more than rating curves. There's a whole bunch of different calculations that are possible for the system. So for example, here we can have, where's my chloride? There we are. We can have the mean daily load on chloride, for example. So here we can do a calculation. You can document the calculation. You say, here's how we're going to do the chloride usage. Here's all the different things. This is just the formula explanation. What are our inputs? It's the mean daily discharge for the water course, and there's a mean daily load that's been calculated also by time series elsewhere. And then we have a formula here that draws a relationship between them. X1 is this variable, X1 daily mean, X2 is this variable. This is the formula that relates the two. You could add other inputs easily, multiple time series from different locations. The system will automatically create variables for them. And then you create your new target column. There's a little validator for your formula. And then you can simply say, all right, what is it that we're making? This is the daily load, tons per day, and you're good to go. And now you've got your new time series that's been calculated. And if I look at it in what's called a derivation groups view, it shows me how these things are related, so that this time series is related to these two time series. And we can look at both of them together, for example, very readily. And here is our, there's some gaps in the data. We're going to go over here, and here's our data, and we can turn things on or off as we want. And again, we can zoom in and see what's going on, how it works. So that's that kind of computational ability. The system can also do all kinds of statistical things. For example, other kinds of ready-made calculations. We can look at this in the context of, let's say, precipitation. Here we have the incremental precipitation, and we might have here the 48-hour total precipitation. Very easy to do. Again, what are we doing? We're doing a statistic computation. Okay, what are we doing? We're doing a sum. We could do other things too. We could do a max, mean, medium, all sorts of other things. All right, what are we doing that to? This time series. Okay, and what are the details? I want 48 hours sum. You could also do years, months, days, minutes, very easy. When do I get the data point? At the end of the hours. Okay, good, we're done. And what's my new time series? I call it 48-hour precipitation, units in inches. That's it, we're done. And then we could look at that, and we could do multiple views again, just to show you what the end result is. And here you go. Here's your calculation. Here we see in the background, this line is the incremental precipitation, and here's the sum precipitation over that period of time. So again, lots of powerful capabilities there. There's a large, I mentioned field visits, the little rubber boots. These field visits can be used for a variety of things. In this case, in this example, they're being used to do a discharge measurement, which can then be incorporated into the a stage discharge relationship if you're doing a rating curve. So you enter in all your discharge information there. There's a variety of hydrological activities that you can do, control conditions, gauge heights, cross-section surveys, and more. We can take a look at some of this too. Quick pick at the cross-section. And again, you can attach files, you can attach images of your visits, et cetera, and that's all integrated with the system. It can be used to actually calibrate your time series data as well, not just for discharge, because you could do readings to calibrate your loggers, and the system will do calibrations and corrections based on your calibration information. So that's all fully integrated in there. We have a little bit of a asset management system where you can see what the things are that are at your site, what the loggers are at your site. And of course, as an enterprise system, you want to be able to do a lot of these things with an integration with your existing systems. So this kind of functionality and the ability to publish data, put in data, configure the system, etc., is all also configured and can be done using powerful application program interfaces, where there's a variety of methods available so that you can control the system via secure APIs, which have to be authorized in order to be used. And you can configure the system, load data into the system, or pull data from the system in these publish APIs here. So there's a big, rich list of APIs that are ready for you to use at any time. And then reporting, data exporting and reporting round out the core functionality of the system. You have a variety of standard reports that you can use. Some of them can be quite sophisticated, like this one here, where you can do profile plots with depth versus a particular parameter over time. The system will generate that kind of data for you, etc. You've got other sort of things where you can monitor your sites, how the operations are going, etc. So that was a very quick view of the time series system. And the big thing about all this is, over the years, really the number one thing our clients say is that the more data they have, no surprise, the harder it is to manage, no matter how good the tool is. So for several years, we've been working on a solution to this problem, and it's an ongoing effort, but we're very pleased to release the system for general use, and that is the HydroCorrect system. Now, what HydroCorrect is, it's a cloud-based service that can connect to your time series instance. You can, if you have historical data, it will analyze your historical data. If you're a previous user of time series, it will also analyze how you've done your corrections, but you don't need to have historical data to use it. What you're really doing is you tell it what kind of rules you want for your data. What do you want HydroCorrect to monitor and how? So here you can see, for example, the time series called logger for the water temperature parameter at this location, and it already has a number of rules set up. Now you can add a rule manually, or the system can recommend a rule to you based on your historical information. You can add a rule for all these things: thresholds, rate of change, calibration, flat line, sensor correction, etc. And over time, this list will grow as the software continues to expand its functionality. You can also decide how you want the system to do, what you want the system to do with this data. Do you want to just be notified? Do you want to suggest a correction, or do you want to do an auto correction? In the current release, auto correction is a deletion of the bad data, and this will also increase over time the sort of things you can be able to do automatically. But that's the gist of that. So let's take a look at one of these. Here's a threshold. We want auto correction. In other words, delete data if it doesn't meet certain threshold values. In other words, if it's minimum anything less than 8 degrees or more than 34 degrees. You can add seasonality to this, so you don't need to be locked in. So for example, water temperature, you might have different parameters for what, obviously what the thresholds are in wintertime versus summertime if you're in a more northern climate. Rate of change, again, you can take a look at that. Again, seasonality, minimum values, maximum values, and what do you want to do? And that's it. You basically create your list of rules, either manually or let the system suggest it, and then edit what the system suggests. And once you're ready with all that, the system will just run every hour, analyze your latest data, and give you a handy alerts dashboard with all the different things that have come up in the system. So here we have 100 notifications, for example. Okay, we've had a rate of change. We don't like the rate of change. You can readily view the data. So you can take a look at what's going on, so it's kind of unhappy about this. But nothing else is going on besides you've been notified. You can get suggested corrections. So the system has made some suggestions based on what you asked it to do. And then you can preview those suggestions. You can accept them or reject them. And you can likewise view the data. And same sort of thing with automated corrections. You can do an automatic correction. It will do it based on what it is that you said. It'll tell you. And you can undo the corrections unless you have already in time series approved them, in which case you wouldn't be able to undo it because the system was approved. And that is basically it. It's kind of extremely simple, very straightforward, very powerful way of monitoring by exception data so that you don't have to look at all your data. You don't have to try and find the problems. The system will alert you, make you aware of any issues that you think you might be having with your data, and let you hone in on them very quickly and effectively in order to go and do the corrections that you want to do using either the automated tools or the tools in time series that I briefly showed you in the previous section when I was doing time series. You have access to the whole time series toolkit to do any kind of corrections you want. So that's the gist of time series and HydroCorrect. I'm going to hand it back over to Kurt. And of course, I'll be happy to take any questions you have at the end of the presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Very insightful stuff there. And as you may or may not have been able to infer, there's lots and lots of details that we can go into with Aquarius. So it's very normal if this raised a lot of questions for you, and of course chat them to us, of course, for the sake of this session. But we also do encourage you to reach out and engage with us. I assure you that when you do so, we like to make these conversations with both potentially new customers and our existing customers, we like to make it as much about you as possible. We have customers that range from federal agencies, the USGS, Water Survey Canada, to state DNRs, regional authorities, regional entities like irrigation districts, and plenty of private industries as well. So we really like to make it about you, find out what your specific needs are. And if you would like to explore this further, we'd like to learn as much as we can about your program so that way we can go into the details that are most pertinent to you. Because as you can see, the sake of the session today was about giving you an introduction to the software there. So yeah, thanks, Tom. Thanks for doing that for us. Just wanted to revisit this again and say, again, 1 week every 2 months is what the average QA/QC professional is spending on that. That is kind of a statistic that drives us. Not kind of, it is a statistic that drives us to deliver tools like this and hopefully dwindle that number down, the 1 week down to as little as possible, 1 day, a few hours if possible. And that's really what we're hoping to accomplish here by releasing these new HydroCorrect tools. And what can you achieve now with those HydroCorrect tools? Several things. First, you can save time because, of course, you're decreasing the amount of time spent on QA/QC. You can do more with the time that you're saving, not spending, doing all the busy task work associated with QA/QC. You can address issues more quickly because you're more quickly making those assessments by using tools to automatically bring your attention to the areas that may need your attention. You can improve the speed to which you respond to those inquiries, respond to those issues, improve the speed to which you get from A to B and produce those products. And once you produce those products, you can improve the defensibility of those products by having trustworthy products and trustworthy solutions to produce those legally defensible products. And that's what it's really all about, is it's about accomplishing those things. And that's what we ask kind of closing out here is, you just ask yourself, what can you accomplish with an extra month of working days each year? Or an extra, however much time you personally assess that you're investing in QA/QC. That's the question that we want you to take away from this and think about. And of course, reach out to us if you think that it's significant enough to explore a solution like this. I think that's about all we had today. We will do some questions now. We have time for questions. So just wanted to say thanks again. Our contact information is on the screen there, and we'll leave that up here for you to screenshot or write down. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from some of you, if not all of you, to talk a little bit about this further and talk, primarily about your program. I do emphasize that again. Talk about your program, your needs, your situation. And mutually come to the conclusion together as to whether or not this is or is not a fit for your program and your specific needs. So yeah, we look forward to answering some questions now. Yeah, let's take a look. All right. Can you upload a shapefile here to create the site automatically? Tom, I'll rely on you for the technical explanation of this. Okay, sure.
It will do some automation of the site creation and the GIS information that you enter into time series. There's a product we haven't talked about called Aquarius Web Portal, which is a GIS enabled reporting and dashboarding system where you can actually add a lot of extra context to your data, including things like alerts, bans, dashboards with various user security, etc. And that can take GIS APIs, such as map layers and other layers, as inputs very readily and easily, but it does not import shape files for that kind of job.
I have another question. So there's a couple of comments here. Thanks for these comments about the audit trail. It looks like that was kind of answered as we went throughout here, but did just kind of want to reinforce that, yes, you know, we do provide an audit trail. The idea is to document all of the steps in the process. And yes, it does outline deleted data as part of that process. The goal is to maintain the record in addition to giving you those final products. So yeah, thanks for asking that question, because that's a really good point to make too throughout all of this, is that yeah, we maintain the steps in the process as well. Is bad data based on the rule, or does the user determine what is bad data? Tom, I'll let you. Yeah,
kind
you
of
go ahead,
both.
Tom.
Yeah, kind of both.
The user defines the rules, and the rules define what is bad data. Is that a fair classification of that?
And I was just going to say the system also hints to you what the rules should be based on historical data. If you have historical data, it will do a statistical analysis of your historical data. In fact, we find that optimally about 3 years or more worth of historical data will give you the best results, although it's not to say it won't give you any other results. So the system will go back. It's going to look at outliers. It's going to look at things like rate of change, mins and maxes, this kind of thing. And based on that, it will suggest rules to you. So, but you're free to approve them or not. So ultimately, the user is in charge of what determines bad data.
I'm sorry, was I taking away the role from the moderator here? Would you like to ask the questions?
You are fine. You are doing great. You're doing great. I don't think you could hear me when I was asking them initially. I may have been muted on another end. But it looks like you may have gotten all, I think you've covered the overlay.
So I was just looking at the overlay. The answer to that, so the question, you know, just to repeat it, is can you overlay your raw data and corrected data on what was changed in the time series graphs? The answer is quite simply yes. Yes, you can. And then is there a max amount of discrete locations for HydroCorrect? Is the software license-based? You know, this is a very new tool, and you know, we internally as a company have just recently released the pricing for this. What that pricing is, in general, is based off of the number of time series that you'd like to apply HydroCorrect to. That's about as detailed as I can get at the moment. You know, if you're a current customer, or even if you're a potentially new customer, you know, we simply ask that you reach out to us, and we'd be happy to talk about this more specifically to you and your situation. And yeah, I guess the answer to that is yes, but it also, we ask that you reach out to us to kind of really specify exactly what your needs are, and we'll get it. We'll get that priced out for you. And maybe I might knock off a couple of questions here, a couple of frequently asked questions, by saying the price for this is not one size fits all. It depends on quite a bunch of different things, such as the size and scope of the customer, the requirements of the customer, the implementation requirements, the data migration requirements. So we'd be happy to give you price, but it's really not quite possible to just stick a price tag on this. So again, that's another topic that we ask that you reach out to us to talk about specifically for your program. It's just not quite, you know, one size fits all there, and we'd be happy to find out what that is for you. Excuse me. And also, speaking about, I just mentioned data migration too. Another frequently asked question is, how do we get decades potentially, or at least several years of historical data into a system like Aquarius? And then also, how do we manage decades worth of prior data that may be coming from an Access database or Excel spreadsheets, that sort of thing? The answer is, we have a professional services team here that is very, if it's not too bold to say, they're very, very good at this. They've been implementing and standing up and migrating data into Aquarius for decades now. We developed this solution as a company back in 2002, 2003. So we've got 20 years of experience implementing and standing up this solution. And essentially what that means is, we have a high level of confidence in our ability to inherit your existing database and get it into Aquarius, wherever it may come from. Tons of experience coming from Excel spreadsheets, custom built solutions, access databases, competing purpose built solutions. So just to kind of answer another frequently asked question there, data migration is certainly something that we specialize in, and we do it in-house too. We do it as a company. Yeah.
And Kurt, you do have a question that just popped up in the chat.
Mm-hmm. Does the data have to? Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you go ahead?
It's okay. Does the data have to be uploaded to Aquatic Informatics server, or can the platform and data be hosted on the client server?
The answer to that question is really whatever the preference is of you and whatever the customer wants. This is a cloud solution and an on-premise solution. We always recommend that our customers use our cloud option, because the cloud option is it's our best foot forward. With our cloud option, it completely eliminates the need for our customers to maintain the software, apply upgrades to the software, apply patches to the software. So we always recommend that as our best foot forward, because it really is our best product and our best service for our customers. But of course, people have needs, there are policies, and our customers certainly do have the option to acquire Aquarius and host it locally on their own server. So hopefully that answers the question there. Both, whatever our customers' preferences are, we try our best to meet those. So that's why we have both options available. I don't think we addressed the question above that about, is there a max amount of discrete locations for HydroCorrect? Oh, no, I'm sorry. We did address that one. My apologies. Yeah.
But there is no max amount.
Actually, yes. Very good point, Tom. Thank you for clarifying that. Any last questions here before we conclude? I think that's right we're about 2 minutes till our allotted time here. So happy to take the rest of the 2 minutes here to answer questions. Also happy to, I think, conclude if that's everything everyone needs to know.
All right. I don't see any additional questions coming through. Yeah, this has actually been great. So are there any last things that Tom or Kurt would like to say before we close us out today?
Thank you for your time.
Exactly my thoughts. Yeah, no, nothing more from us. Thank you for your time. Again, feel free to reach out. If not, thanks for attending. Glad we were able to present this to you all today. Thanks for coming.
All right, and we thank you, Tom and Kurt. This was great. This actually concludes today's eShowcase. Thank you all for attending. The recording, again, will be available at wefbuyersguide.wef.org, and we will send all registrants an email tomorrow with that link. Please visit our event calendar to sign up for future webcasts, and we enjoyed you today, and thank you so much for joining us.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.